rason ng malaking kakulangan ng budget para sa family planning and reproductive health? Hindi po ito sapat para sa pangangailangan pang reproduktibo. Ano ang plano ng DOH para dito? Mr. Speaker.
Well, Mr. Speaker, ang unang rason, pasensya na sa ating kasama, the Honorable Brosas, at ang sagot, usual, limited fiscal space. Bagamat gusto natin na mas mataas pa sana ang budget, pero talagang ito lamang ang ating budget ceiling sa taong 2024. And at the same time, inaasahan din natin under a devolved healthcare system na merong dagdag na suporta mula sa ating LGUs, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, simula kasi nang mapasa ang RH law noong 2012, halos threefold yung binaba ng budget nito at patuloy itong bumababa hanggang sa ngayon, lalo na zero line item budget for reproductive needs and family planning. So actually, natanggap po namin yung sulat kung saan nag-submit po kayo ng requested action, yung request sana na mag-create ng separate line item for maternal health and reproductive health, Mr. Speaker. So, dito ano po yung ating plano dito?
Mr. Speaker, ang DOH ay sangayon po sa panukala na magkaroon ng separate line item para sa family planning and reproductive health, at ito po ay sinulat na po ng DOH sa isang liham addressed to the Committee on Appropriations. So, ang amount po para sa line item na to ay 749,919,000 para sa taong 2024.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
And in addition, Madam Speaker, meron pang dagdag na 607.8 million na nakaalat sa CHD, and under the health promotion program, may 165.9 million for a total of 1.523 billion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yung 600 at saka yung 100 plus, may we have a copy? May we be furnished a copy of what you read, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, DOH shall submit.
Thank you. Kasi ang meron lang po kami ay yung sa FPRH, yung sinabit ninyo ay Family Planning and Reproductive Health, FPRH, which is 749 million lang. So meron pa palang 600 plus 100 million. So a total of 1 point something. No? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, kaugnay dyan. Ano naman po yung ginagawa ng DOH tungkol sa women-centered, rights-based post-abortion care, registration of emergency contraception, and misoprostol for prevention and treatment of PPH? Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, ang pinoprovide lang po ng DOH is post-management abortion care. So meron po tayong mga clinics na nagpo-provide po ng post-abortion care, post-management abortion care. And this is nationwide.
All hospitals,
So in all hospitals.
but abortion remains.
But induced abortion remains illegal, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, meron po bang report na nationwide report tayo dito, Mr. Speaker, on the management per se?
Well, right now, Mr. Speaker, kasama po ito sa individual hospital reports, but what we can do is we can collate all of these and submit, Mr. Speaker, to the office of the Honorable Process.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, isa pang question, bakit wala sa module ng family planning training ng DOH ang tungkol sa emergency contraception? Kailan magiging bahagi ng mga health services ng mga DOH licensed health facilities ang pagpo-provide ng emergency contraception? Mr. Speaker.
Ang dahilan dito, Mr. Speaker, ay meron pong Supreme Court decision. May status quo ante Supreme Court decision at on emergency contraception, Mr. Speaker.
So, Mr. Speaker, yun yung dahilan kung bakit wala sa module. Pero,
Tama po.
how about this? Yung kailan magiging bahagi ng health services ng mga DOH? Hindi talaga ever, parang ganyan, Mr. Speaker? Kung
Until-
emergency contraception?
Tama po, Mr. Speaker. Hanggat lifted po ang desisyon na yan ng Supreme Court, yan po ang magiging policy ng DOH, Mr. Speaker.
How about, Mr. Speaker, yung, kasi taong 2020 naglabas, no? Ang Commission on Population na ang teenage o adolescent pregnancy ay isang national emergency. Mr. Speaker, ano ang mga programa at plano ng DOH rito? Tapos magkano yung nakalaan na pondo para sa 2024?
Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, for teenage pregnancy, meron po tayong programs in partnership with the DepEd. And
Ayan, pareho tayo. Ito po. Yan, we do that. Tayo. Opo, kasama sa healthy. Kasama ang DepEd.
so, marami po tayong what is called demand generation interventions. They're mostly information campaigns. So the idea is, of course, to increase awareness among our teenagers. Meron po tayong national campaigns. Meron din po tayong programs that will build knowledge and skills of young people. A number of programs that target adults so that they can better communicate with young people. Basically, ang tinatarget dito ay ang mga parents. Meron din tayong assistance on governance and systems. Dito naman po ay Ang isang intervention po dito na bahagi ng RH law ay ang Comprehensive Sexuality Education Training. Ang kabuang budget para sa health promotion ay 166 million for 2024, Mr. Speaker.
126 million.
166 million.
166 million. So yan po ang nakalaan na budget for 2024.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, mahaba ang listahan ng mga programa and we will just submit to you this full list.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Please submit. Yung, Mr. Speaker, 3 kababaihan ang namamatay sa unsafe abortion complication araw-araw. Ang lack of access at available services sa post-abortion care and safe abortion sa Pilipinas ay malaking dahilan kung bakit namamatay ang mga Pilipinong nagbubuntis. So ano na po ang plano ng DOH dito?
Yan po. Their awareness. At prevent.
Sa ngayon, Mr. Speaker, ang key intervention ay prevention. So ito pong nabanggit ko kanina na mga iba't ibang mga information campaign ay sa ngayon, ito po ang nagiging platform para ma-address po ito mga problema ng mortalities as a result of induced abortion.
Mr. Speaker, will you agree na ang kailangan natin ay sufficient public funding because it plays a key role, sufficient public funding, because it plays a key role in ensuring a proper and effective implementation of the RH law as providing adolescents with the necessary support and services to prevent unplanned pregnancy, hindi po ba? Kaya nga malaking panalo natin yung karapatan sa kalusugan, yung RH law, Mr. Speaker. Kailangan po nito ng dagdag na sapat na pondo para sa epektibong implementasyon kasi yun naman yung kailangan natin. So kapag tumataas yung bilang ng ating mga nabubuntis na kabataan, Mr. Speaker, we should do something about it. At ang tingin po namin dyan, sufficient public funding, meron talaga dapat tayong ipopondo dito na sapat, Mr. Speaker. So yung fiscal space over doon sa pangangailangan, Mr. Speaker, baka ito, kailangan talaga natin itong i-consider, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor.
Tama po, dahil napakabigat po ng datos sa ngayon dahil 3 out of 10 po ay namamatay po dahil sa induced abortion. Kaya importante po na mahanapan natin ang paraan para madagdagan ang budget na 166 million. Tama po, we agree with you na napakaliit ng 166 million.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yung susunod ko pong tanong ay kaugnay sa PhilHealth budget. Mr. Speaker, tataas ng nasa 1.3 billion ang pondo ng PhilHealth sa proposed 2024 budget mula 100.2 billion sa 2023 tungong 101.5 billion sa 2024. Ano po ang kasalukuyang fund life ng PhilHealth, Mr. Speaker?
Sa ngayon po, PhilHealth is a going concern. Hindi natin siya bibigyan ng bilang na 1 year, 2 years. Ang sabi ng ating opisyales mula sa PhilHealth, it is here to stay on, in their exact words. Sa ngayon po, pagtitignan po natin ang kanilang assets, sobra-sobra po sa minimum amount of reserves ang nasa kanilang cash balances. Kasi ayon sa batas, ang kailangan lang na minimum ay 2 years lamang ng annual needs to pay for benefit expenses, which is more or less about 300 billion. Pero sa ngayon po ay nasa higit 400. Ang reserves natin ay 336.2. So this exceeds the required 2-year reserves ayon sa batas.
Mr. Speaker, ano po yung binabasa ninyo na reference?
Ito po ay
Mula sa PhilHealth?
galing po ito sa financial statement ng PhilHealth. As of June 2023, ang reserve fund ay 336.2 billion pesos.
May we have a copy of that, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, we will. Can we just give you a copy? Kasi ito po ay cue cards lamang.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, kaugnay nito, ano na ba yung support value ngayon ng PhilHealth?
Sa ngayon po, Mr. Speaker, how would you like to define support value? Is that
Total amount of reimbursements.
total value of
Total.
claims divided by total hospital bill?
Yeah, hospitalization costs of a patient.
Ang average the average support value is the national average is 65.89, Mr. Speaker. So that means that for every 100 pesos in hospitalization costs, PhilHealth would shoulder 66 pesos. Yun po ang ibig sabihin ng support value na 65.89%, Mr. Speaker.
65.
65.89%. Pero syempre, Mr. Speaker, yan po ay average para sa lahat ng klase ng PhilHealth members. At syempre dahil this would tend to be bigger, mas malaki ang suporta na natatanggap ng ating indigent members. So para sa ating sponsored members, ibig sabihin ito yung mga 4-piece members po natin, ang average support value naman po ay 79.48%. Ibig sabihin, halos 80 pesos sa kada 100 pesos ng hospitalization cost ng ating mga indigent Filipinos ay sagot ng PhilHealth.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, what about meron po bang latest na study that will show kung yung PhilHealth, kung ano yung hindi na-cover ng PhilHealth, no, sa charges for hospital services? Meron na po ba kayong latest na survey or study dyan?
Well, sa ngayon po, ang ginagamit natin na provider payment scheme is a case rate. So ibig sabihin po, hindi na katulad nung araw na fee-for-service na naka-by type of service. So merong room and board, merong labs, merong para sa physician services, para sa lab test, etc. Sa ngayon po, ang bayad is kabuuan by illness. So hindi natin, kumbaga, wala po siyang breakdown.
Wala siyang standard.
Wala siyang breakdown. So ibig sabihin, halimbawa po para sa panganganak, ang NSD ay magkano? 19,000? Ang NSD pag manganganak na normal, is 8,000. So hindi siya naka-breakdown by specific service. 8,000 siya, kabuuan.
Kasi, Mr. Speaker, kaya kayo natanong, Mr. Speaker, kung sinasabi nyo kanina na 80 out of 100, for example, yung parang 80% yun no, sa 100. Pero meron tayong pag-aaral noong, this is coming from the PIDS 2022 studies that show that PhilHealth does not cover more than 40% of charges for hospital services. So tinatanong ko po kung may latest para makita natin ano yung in-improve niya. Pero kung 80 to 100, ibig sabihin napakataas noon kasi 40% yung hindi nako-cover eh. So ibig sabihin tumaas agad siya ng 40% after 2022, 23, 24, after 2 years, after a year, Mr. Speaker?
Well, yung 80% would be for the lowest income households.
Indigent, okay.
Yes, for the national average, that's about 65.89%. So that's not too far away from the PIDS study, which is about 60%.
Okay.
So palagay ko, with a margin of error 5%, ay hindi siya masyado nalalayo.
Okay. Yes, kaya ako tinanong yun para maklarify tayo, Mr. Speaker, doon sa Anyway, Mr. Speaker, on my third question dyan sa PhilHealth, dagdag pa, pag-usapan rin po natin ang PhilHealth coverage. No? Noong committee deliberations, nagpahayag po kami sa Gabriela Women's Party ng sobrang pagkabahala dahil sa mga pag-aaral na ang richer regions, provinces at households lamang ang nakikinabang sa PhilHealth. Ano ang mga ginagawang hakbang ng PhilHealth upang tugunan ito? Nag-example po ako niyan last time, yung sa BARM, di ba? At saka sa iba pang mga areas. Sa Lanao, Basilan, Sulu, Tawi-Tawi, yan po. Na least ang PhilHealth coverage.
Well, sa ngayon po, pagbabasahin naman po natin ang batas. Malinaw naman po na universal coverage ang mandato ng PhilHealth. So, wala naman talagang dapat na dahilan na maging biased ang pamamalakad ng PhilHealth for any particular region. Dapat lahat po ng Pilipino ay merong pare-parehong opportunity na makinabang dito sa PhilHealth. Pero kung ang nangyayari po ay mas nakikinabang ang
Which region?
nasa mas mayaman na region, it's most likely because of the supply side considerations. Ibig sabihin, baka dahil ito ay dala na rin ng inequitable distribution of our hospitals, for example, or other healthcare facilities. So kasi baliwala naman po ang ating magiging PhilHealth coverage, halimbawa kung wala naman pong hospital na kung saan pwede mong gamitin ang iyong PhilHealth coverage. So alam naman po natin, halimbawa na pag ikumpara po natin ang BARM sa NCR, ay talaga naman pong dihamak na mas swerte po ang mga taga-NCR kumpara sa BARM in terms of the number of hospital beds, for example. So, palagay ko yun ang nagiging isang paliwanag kung bakit mas nagiging inequitable ang pag-benefit mula sa PhilHealth membership.
Yan nga po yung kinwestiyon namin last time. By wealth quintile, the rich households in the Philippines had the highest percentage of population with PhilHealth insurance coverage. Umaabot po siya ng 83.6%. The region with the lowest household population covered by PhilHealth insurance, halimbawa ang BARM, covering 41.4% lang. So ibig sabihin, poorest provinces have low coverage. with senior citizens, indigents, or sponsored beneficiaries, mostly as members. Mindanao also has the largest share of indirect contributors, mostly indigent or sponsored at 57%. So nagsishare naman sila, pero mababa yung kanilang of government programs, halimbawa, 4Ps are said to be at higher risk of contracting diseases. Tapos ayun nga, in-identify 5 conflict-affected provinces, Maguindanao, Lanao del Sur, Basilan, Sulu, Tawi-Tawi. Yun yung may least PhilHealth coverage at 52% below. Na sinasabi ninyo, ang explanation ay yung hospitals, tama ba?
Well,
Kulang sa hospitals, facilities, wherein pwedeng magamit yung PhilHealth insurance. Yan ang
yes, Mr. Speaker, if we read the law, ang dahilan po kung bakit universal coverage po siya is because at the end of the day, kahit wala ka halimbawang PhilHealth coverage at nagkasakit ka, pwede kasing maging miyembro ka through point of service at the end of the day. And that's the reason for why, technically speaking, 100% talaga covered ang Pilipino. Kasi kahit wala kang ID ngayon, nagkasakit ka, pupunta ka lang sa ospital, ikaw ay pwede nang maging miyembro at the point of service. So, kaya at the end of the day, kahit nasabihin po natin na mas maraming registered sa NCR kumpara halimbawa sa BARM, pero dapat kung ikaw ay taga-BARM at nagkasakit ka, as long as meron kang access to a hospital, dapat pwede kang maging PhilHealth member at that point of service. So ang sinasabi ko po, ang problema is kapag walang hospital, yun ang magiging problema. So at the end of the day, ang nagiging binding constraint to an effective PhilHealth coverage is really your supply of healthcare facilities.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, hindi ba at the end of the day, ang ipinapakita nito sa atin, yung mga mayayaman, may kayang households, ang pinakikinabangan, no? Siyang pinaka nakikinabang sa PhilHealth, samantala yung mga pinakamahihirap nating kababayan sa probinsya, sila yung hindi masyado, kasi yun yung statistics na meron Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor.
Madam Speaker, with due respect, pag titignan naman po natin ang benefit availment, makikita po natin na mas malaki po ang ginagastos ng PhilHealth para po sa claims ng ating indigent members. Sa katunayan po, hindi lang po nagko-cooperate ang ating TV dito, pero mas malaki po talaga ang claims. Ito po, para sa indigent sa ating indigent members, ang ginastos po as of June 2023 ay 9.3 billion compared to pag isama po natin ang senior citizen, that's already more or less 20 billion compared to private employees and government employees, 13.9 billion. So clearly, mas marami po ng dihamak ang ating subsidized members, mas malaki ng dihamak ang benefit expenses ng ating subsidized members kumpara doon po sa ating tinatawag na direct contributors o yung pong nagbabayad ng premiums nila. So that's one way of showing na mas malaki po ang benepisyo ng mas nangangailangan.
Mr. Speaker, may we get those data na binabanggit ng ating Madam Sponsor para makita natin malaman natin kung paano ito i-reconcile doon sa mga pinakita natin na data kanina, Mr. Speaker. Kasi parang ayon din sa Philippine National Health Accounts, PhilHealth only covered 13.6% share in the total health expenditures noong 2022.
Yes, we will share this with you. And more importantly, Mr. Speaker, it would be important to note that ito pong private employees and government employees, sila po ay nagbabayad. Hinuhulugan po nila out of their own salaries ang kanilang premiums compared to itong indigent and senior citizens na subsidized po sila fully ng national government. Kaya masasabi po natin na talagang inaalagaan naman po ng ating programa ang mas nangangailangan po.
Mr. Speaker, may we get the
Yes,
said,
we
ano,
will submit
data.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, on to my next question. Ito po ay thank you pala sa DOH for submitting the data requested during the budget briefing. We are glad that the DOH committed to take all appropriate measures to fill all vacant positions pursuant to Special Provision Number 20 in GAA 2023. And according to the document submitted by the DOH, it states that the DOH will submit exemption requests to the Civil Service Commission for vacant positions that have been classified as vital, critical, in order to guarantee that all vacant positions will be filled. Now, may I ask the sponsor, have the DOH already sent a request to the CSC? Kung hindi pa, ay kailan dahil ongoing na ang prohibition?
Yes, Mr.
For your
Speaker.
answer that, Madam Sponsor, may I remind the good congressperson that to conclude the interpellations, please.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Please
Wind up
proceed,
ko lang
Madam.
po ito kasi staffing summary ito ng DOH eh.